All right, guys, now let's talk about the next part of the five-step hiring process that I look into. Okay, we already talked about um, position, the importance of the personality test and knowing what personality people are. Okay, um, you should have already taken the personality test, or you can do it after this whole chapter is done. Now let's talk about loyalty. Okay, so let's go over loyalty because loyalty is the next thing. After I figure out what position I'm hiring for, I post a job specific to the personality that I need for that position, and then I look into loyalty. So this is honestly the fastest one for me to check because loyalty is the only reason I even look at people's resumes. Okay, well, I shouldn't say that. I look for other things as well, but loyalty is one of the biggest. I normally always look to make sure that somebody has been with their company, their current company, for over 5 years. Okay, um, 10 years even better, 15 years perfect. So the longer they've been with their company, that just shows me that they're loyal because no matter what you think, anybody that's been in an organization for longer than 5 years, they've been through some ups and downs. Okay, and they've probably been through some downs where they could have left, they could have looked somewhere else to find a different job, but they didn't. Okay, I'll give you an example of one of the general managers that I hired for one of our recreation parks. I remember I looked at the resume, and well, I lied. Let's go back. By this point, I had my um, assistant. She was on posting the job. We had about 100 people apply for the job. Um, she sent out the personality test. Everybody took the personality test. Some didn't, right? So the ones that didn't, they were automatically out. Okay, they weren't in the running anymore. Out of the ones that did, there was only about 15 or 20 of them that were actually the right personality, an ID. Okay. And then after that, I have my assistant look at their resumes, and she throws away everybody's resume that hasn't been with their company for over 5 years. Okay. Automatically. That's just me. Now, if you only have a few applicants, you can't be as strict as I am, but we had 100 applicants. So I was able to throw out quite a few just because I needed them to be very specific as far as personality goes, and as far as the position goes, and as far as the other things go that we're going to talk about in this five-step process. But as far as loyalty goes, that's all I'm looking for. Someone who's been in their business for over 5 years. So that's how you tell someone's loyal. You can't expect somebody to be loyal when they come and work for you if they've been job hopping and they only stay with their jobs about a year. Okay, and I've seen resumes like that where they've been every year they're at a new business, new business, new business, new state. Even worse if they've been in new locations, right, moving around and changing jobs every year. Then you just have somebody that is very, to me, not loyal to the company, not loyal to the process of getting into somewhere and committing and staying for a while. I had I had someone that came, and they were actually working for a Toys R Us store, and she was one of my final candidates that I actually ended up hiring. But her loyalty, like, just shined because she'd been with Toys R Us for over 20 years. Okay, and she'd been with Toys R Us for 20 years. And I remember when I interviewed her, she said, "Yeah, our location is closing down in about 2 weeks, and we'll all be unemployed." Um, and when I gave her the job, I offered her the job. I said, "Hey, if you want, you can start even earlier, because by this time they were already closing shop." And what she told me was huge. She said, "Well, Mo, if it's okay with you, I I probably won't be able to start for another couple of weeks because I'd like to, even after we shut the business down, I'd like to make sure that I can close and tie up all the loose ends for Toys R Us because they took care of me for so long." And I knew right then and there that I had somebody awesome because she didn't have to do that. She wasn't even getting paid to do that. But because she was loyal, she wanted to make sure that everything was okay with a company that took care of her for over 20 years. And she wanted to be there for the other employees that were getting laid off too. And I loved it because I hired her because of that loyalty. And she brought along the best of the best employees that she had been working with for over 5, 10 years. So automatically in our business, we had a bunch of loyal people. And I knew that we can give them a better situation and work environment if they were to come work for us. So in any case, that is loyalty. That is how I determine loyalty. It's very simple, but very effective guys. Again, don't hire job hoppers, hire people that are loyal. Okay. So next, let's get into industry experience. Okay. Another pretty simple one. Um, if I'm hiring somebody to manage a bunch of 16 to 20-year-olds, I even if somebody's personality is right, if their loyalty is there, but they've never managed 16 to 20-year-olds, then I can't hire them. They have to have industry experience. If I hired somebody, again, I mentioned this before, if I hired somebody that used to work at a fast food joint, right? And then I try and hire them to run, a big construction operation, with a bunch of construction men and women that are, it's a lot different than what they were doing before with fast food and younger children. So in any case, make sure, okay, that they were a manager or whatever position, a clerical, whatever it is, make sure that they did that in the industry that you're hiring in, okay? You can't, some things do not transfer, and it's a lot easier to have somebody, if you have a construction company, right, to hire a clerical worker from another construction company. Maybe she's been or he's been with them for over 20 years, right? And they're going out of business, or she's just looking for something new. Hire that person over somebody who's never been in that type of environment, because then you can skip all the, getting to know how to do things and all the big learning curve that it'll take them to learn how to work in that type of environment. Okay. So industry experience is very, very important when you're hiring any position. Okay. So now we've gone through position, personality, how to tell their loyalty, right? And now industry experience. The last one that we go over is cognitive ability. Okay. Now this one, I also send an online test. Okay. At the same time that I send a personality test, I have my assistant send them out a cognitive ability test as well. Okay. So, and same with personality tests, guys, just like that. There are a lot of different cognitive ability tests out there, but the most accurate one that I found is called the Wonderlic test. Okay. And I'll write that down here. And maybe a lot of you guys have heard this. A lot of professional sports are giving this to players before they play for their team as well. So I'm adding a free version link here so you guys can take a free version of the Wonderlic. I would suggest that you take the Wonderlic test. That's a paid test for a CEO. Okay, then it'll give you a grade on how you would do as a CEO. Now, when you take these tests, you got to make sure that you're in a very quiet room. These tests are timed. Okay, there's a big difference from the personality test. This test is timed, and what it is doing, it's going to test your ability to solve problems in a timely manner. So, I mean, you can't always, just like in personality, you can't always tell someone's cognitive ability from their resume. Okay, you really can't. You need someone who, when something's going wrong, they don't turn and call you right away, right? If they can't problem solve and quickly, they're going to be on the phone with you all the time saying, hey, Mo, the bathroom just went down, right? We don't have a men's bathroom anymore. Oh, hey, Mo, there's, somebody's burning something outside of our store, right? They won't call you. They'll know how to go out there and solve the problem and call you after they fixed it. Okay. And that's very important as a business owner to have people in an organization, especially in managerial positions, that can solve problems and solve them quickly. Okay. So in any case, when there's a fire, when there's a fight, when there's a bad review on the internet, they take care of it. And then they let you know that everything is good, or they don't even let you know because they know what you want and they take care of it. Okay. Again, I used to have a office manager for a property management company that literally told me, Mo, stop bothering us. We're fine. I will tell you when we have a problem big enough that it should concern you. Okay. And she would never call me, and when she did call me, she would say, hey, Mo, guess what? Someone's trying to sue us. This is what I've done already. Just trying to, just keeping you up to speed. Okay. And it's not a call of, hey, Mo, here's a problem. Tell me what to do. Hey, Mo, here's a problem. Tell me what to do. I don't know what to do. An employee is being mean to me. Okay. That kind of stuff, guys, you cannot afford as a business owner to do that because it takes your time. Okay. So again, these 5 things, guys, are important because I'm trying to put you guys in a situation where you can own your time. Okay. And if you don't hire people the right way, you're going to have, you might as well be there at the business, right? And what I don't get is a lot of times people will hire an office manager or a general manager and they'll still go in and work, which doesn't make sense to me, because then you undercut your general manager's role as the decision maker, right? If you're always there at the business micromanaging and telling everybody, well, John, the manager told me to do this. And he said, well, don't do that. Do what I say. I'm the owner, right? It is the worst thing to do, to your general managers, is to go and undercut them in front of the employees who are supposed to be listening to them, because you set a precedent that it doesn't matter what the general manager says, the employee should come and ask you directly what's going on. And once you get into that mess, to me, that's game over, right? The idea is that you're doing all this to put the right person in place so that you don't have to be there, okay? Or even so that you don't have to get calls, okay? They need to have the ability to solve problems very quickly and effectively. Again, when they first start, obviously you're gonna have to spend more time with them. But once they start to understand how it is that you want problems to be solved, then they will stop reaching out to you so that you can concentrate and have your time back. Okay, now here you go. Here's a free version of a sample Wonderlic test. Take it. Again, it takes about 12 minutes, I believe. Make sure you're in a quiet room. And again, it's timed. So you got to get going. Get a pen, get a piece of paper before you take it. Push start and go. Okay, because you want to see how fast your brain power is. And again, same thing with personality tests. Don't be offended. You may get a low score, and that's fine. And I'll say right now, a lot of times people that get a low score, it's even better. Then for sure you just need to hire somebody that has a better cognitive ability to run certain things. So again, no matter where you are in the spectrum of things, you just have to make sure that you are hiring the right people, depending on all of these 5 things: the position, personality, loyalty, industry experience, and cognitive ability. Okay. Now, if they pass each step, right, I send all this stuff out. I love it when people don't even take the test or take the time to take the test, because then I know that they're not interested, and that, takes them out of the running for me. After that, but if I can send all this stuff and they pass everything, a lot of times out of the 100 people that apply, my assistant will whittle that down using this 5-step process, whittle it down to about 6 people. And I love that, because I don't waste any time on anybody else. These 6 people have passed all of these things. On paper, they are the perfect candidate, okay? On paper, they are the perfect candidate. But in the next section here, I'm gonna talk to you guys about, after you have done all of this, okay, how then do you interview these people now that you know that whoever you're sitting in front of on paper is probably the perfect candidate, okay? So let's jump into that here, and that is called hiring loyalty over talent. And I do it very quickly, very efficiently, and it is very effective when I hire people this way. Okay, let's jump into that. All right, guys, we've gone through the 5 steps in the hiring process: position, personality, loyalty, industry experience, and cognitive ability. Now it is time to actually perform the interview. Again, and it got to the point where, I used to do all of these steps, but now I actually enjoy having all of these steps done before I even sit down with people, because what happens is, and I'll give you a real life scenario: 100 people apply, 20 people take the test, or 25, right? Whittles it down to 11 of the people that fit after you look at personality, loyalty, industry experience, cognitive ability. Maybe that goes all the way down to now about 6, 7 people, okay? And again, these numbers are different in every industry, at least for what we were doing. That's kind of how it all came down. So I'd have about probably 6 to 10 interviews normally, anytime I was going to hire a general manager. Now this process, guys, because I went through this 5-step process funnel to make sure that the only people that I'm sitting down with are the ones that are perfect candidates on paper. Now I'm ready to have a very short interview, because I don't need to ask all these different questions. And you'd probably be surprised to hear that my interview normally takes about 10 to 15 minutes is it, okay? Because even though someone is perfect on paper, what you cannot tell on paper is a person's personal life story, okay? And this is why I enjoy the interview time, because I actually purposely have my assistant not tell me their scores on any of the tests anything on their resume. When I walk in and sit down with someone, a lot of times I have no idea where they used to work, right? So it's just a connection for me, and I know that on paper, they're the perfect candidate. Okay. So what I do is I sit down with them, and I want to make sure that I want this person to be loyal in my organization. And in order to do that, I need to make sure that I can provide a similar, or that I can beat their current salary, that I can do better than their current schedule, their current work environment, and their current work-life balance. Okay. So those are the few things that I look for when I'm doing this. I just want to make sure that I can give them a better lifestyle, right? So when it comes to hiring people, you can check off all the boxes, but if you don't vet them right, they may or may not do well, or they may only last for a few months. So taking them through this process is making it so that we find people that are going to stick. Okay. So in any case, right, I went through position. I made sure that the position that came open, that I knew what it was and knew enough about it that I knew the personality type that would fit in there. Okay. So, and let me dig into this actual list to be a little more detailed for you guys. Okay. So this is the checklist. And again, in the beginning, you are going to do all of this, but after a while, you can have an assistant or whatnot handle all of this stuff for you. So again, number one, position. Okay. 2, and this one you're going to look for their, oops. Okay. Personality. All these things matter. Make sure that all these things fit. Okay. I do post my average pay rate when I post these jobs online, so that I don't want to surprise people and have them come with the wrong expectations. They know exactly how much I'm around, what I'm going to pay. Okay. Okay. Then, and this is just, I'm putting this in checklist form, guys, so you guys can see step by step what happens. Okay. Looking for loyalty. 5 to 15 years, what I'm looking for. Okay. Also, I'm looking for industry experience. Okay. This is what I'm looking for on the actual resume. Number 3. Personality test. Okay. Send disc test. 4. And 5. Okay. Set up interview. Okay. And in the interview, this is what I'm trying to find out. These are some of the things. Okay. But then I'm going to explain to you exactly how it looks, how I act, kind of just how it all goes down. But I'm trying to find out what their pay is. Okay. I'm trying to find out why they're looking for another job. Okay. And the other reason I'm going to ask them, I'm trying to find out what their expectations are, because I want to make sure that I can exceed them, because for everybody, expectations are a lot different. Okay. And then 6, post interview follow up with top 2 to 3 candidates. And in this follow-up, I am literally going to ask how much they need. And that's okay. So let me walk you guys through this whole thing, right? We've already gone through all this. Now we're on number 5 here. You know, they've already taken all the tests. We're on number 5 now, and we're trying to figure out in an interview a few different things. Okay, these are just a few things, and then we'll talk about this post-interview follow-up. Okay, so I walk into this scenario and I have my assistant go on my calendar and schedule 15-minute interviews, you know. So a lot of times I'll just schedule every interview about 30 minutes apart or 20 minutes apart so that as one comes in, they see the other one sitting down, you know, as they go out, the next one comes, as they go out, the next one comes, as they go out, the next one comes. I'm going to stop sharing this so I can just talk to you guys. If you want to have people work for you that are going to remain loyal, okay, move my camera up a bit. If you want to have people that are going to work for you that remain loyal, you have to find out what it is that they really want in life, okay? And that's why when I sit down to interview people, literally, I'll sit down, I'll shake their hand and say, hey, nice to meet you, John, Mark, Julia, okay? And then we sit down and talk. On my calendar, all I have is their name. So I don't really know much about them. I just know that they're a good candidate on paper. So I sit down with them and I say, hey, you know, I tell them flat out, according to my assistant who sent you all of these tests and whatnot, you are a perfect candidate on paper, okay? And I'll tell you the truth that we had about 70, 80, 100 people apply. After all these tests happened, we only have about 8 or 10 left that still qualify, and you're one of them. So congratulations. But I just want to sit down and interview you, okay, and find out a few things. So number one, I just want to know a little bit about your current situation. Help me understand what you do at work, you know, and why you are looking for something else, okay? And then I let them talk, okay? I let them explain, hey, this and that, and I'll give you a real life situation. I had one interview that I did, and I'll skip everybody else that wasn't qualified. I'll talk about the top 2 interviews that I had. So one guy came in and he was very qualified, been with the company for 15 years that he was currently with. And he said, you know what, Mo, like I like my job. You know, I manage about 10 different stores. And in each store we have about 30 employees. I'm a district manager. I get paid well. But for me, and I manage 16 to 20-year-olds, and that's what I was looking for. So he was checking every box for me. And then he said, well, but you know, I'm out there looking, I'm interested in seeing what's out there. But right now I have a decent job. You know, I get to spend some time with my family. They give me vacation days, and all of that, you know, so things are all right, I guess is how that interview went. Okay. So he went, we had a good interview. I figured out what it was that he wanted. He wanted to see if he can get paid a little bit more. He wanted to see just what this was and if it was a different type of environment that he would like over what he was doing right now. Okay, so after that interview was done, he walked out. And I was like, man, I can hire that guy. You know, he looks like he's in a good position. He's doing well. You know, he's not really totally satisfied with his position right now, but he kind of is. Okay, so then the next person came in. Okay, and this was a woman. She walks in and I interview her and I said, hey, you know, same thing. Explain to me your current situation at work, what you do, you know, and tell me why you would be looking for another job. And she proceeds to tell me, hey, well, I work a lot. You know, I work about 70 hours a week, and I manage about 13 different fast food restaurants. Same thing. I'm a district manager, and I normally wake up at 4 in the morning to go make sure that some of the stores are open correctly. There's a lot of attrition in our business. So, I'm always hiring, training, doing a lot of that stuff. I don't really have a personal life because, I just work. I don't have time for it. And she goes on to tell me all these things, and she tells me how much she gets paid. I asked the other guy too how much he got paid. I said, okay, we can probably do that. So she's telling me all these things. Um, but in my mind, I'm going through and I'm checking things off saying, okay, pay, I can probably do a little better than what she's getting paid right now, or I can at least match it, right? That's what you're trying to do. You don't want to go less. Um, why they're looking, I said, well, she's working 70 hours a week, probably even more. I know I can get her to a 40-hour work week, which is almost cutting her work week in half. Okay. And then I look at the environment that she's in, right? It's kind of always going. She's up at 4 a.m., whatnot. And I said, you know what? I could really fix that too. I can change that for her as well. So I'm checking all these things off, right? And I'm saying, you know what? It's a very high stress situation. So I bet I can bring that stress way down because the type of business that we're hiring her for is a very fun business. Okay. So, and she was going to work at one of our recreation parks. So now I have these two candidates. Okay. On one hand, I have someone who just, they're looking to get paid more, very good worker. Honestly, skill set wise, he probably had a little more as far as skill sets go than the woman that I was interviewing as well. But here's what it comes down to. And as cheesy as this may sound, guys, when I hire somebody, I want to make sure that it's somebody that I can really change change the whole layout of their life. Okay. Again, that may sound weird and crazy, but hear me out. I'm trying to change their work-life balance, which in turn is going to change their lifestyle. I'm trying to change the amount of stress that they have, which in turn is going to improve their lifestyle. I'm trying to change how much they get paid and how they get paid, which in turn is going to improve their lifestyle. I'm going to try and change the environment that they're in at work, which in turn is going to improve their lifestyle. So if you really think about it, what I'm saying is I'm trying to find the person that I can have the biggest impact and change their life in the biggest way, okay? So that when they look at this job, they are more than grateful for it. And it's such a different situation than they're currently in, and such a drastic change that for them, they're saying like, man, I had no idea that this even existed. I can't believe that this is my job. Like that is literally the attitude that I want everybody that works for me and any of my organizations to feel like that. Oh, crap, I can't believe that I have this work-life balance. I can't believe that Mo's giving me this day off. I can't believe, and I remember after this, let me go back to the interview process. So after I did this, I had the two, and I was pretty dang sure that I wanted to hire the woman over the man. And the last thing I needed to do was do a post-interview follow-up with both of them, because the last thing that I want to think about is how much they want to get paid. Okay. So I called them after the interview, and this is the same exact day. I called them later in the day and said, hey, congratulations. You are one of the two candidates that I have left that we're trying to choose out of. Okay. And I only have one more question. I want you to take a look at what you're doing now. I want you to take a look at your finances, everything. And I just want you to let me know. You can either let me know today or tomorrow. You can shoot me a text, email. I don't want you to tell me right now, but I just want to know, in your situation, all things considered, right? What would you need to get paid in order for it to make sense for you to switch from what you're doing now to come and work with us? That's what I asked him. I said, literally, I'm straight up asking you, how much do you need to get paid if you were going to come and work for us? And it puts the ball in their court. Some people may look at me and say, well, that's not fair to ask somebody. No, to me it is, because I really want to know for that person what they believe their worth is. Okay. And I want to know that I can exceed their worth in their eyes, instead of me just telling them, hey, this is what I want to pay you. Okay. Because again, I care about what they feel and what they think, because everybody's different. Okay. So I get a text back from the gentleman saying that, hey, I'd like to get paid 70,000. He was currently making 60,000, right? He's like, I'd like to get paid 70,000 a year. I said, okay, sounds good. I get a text message from the woman, and she was making about 60,000 or so. And she texts me back and says, hey, I ran the math and everything. And I love what, you know, we talked about in the interview and what the business is. I did my math, and honestly, I could live off of about $53,000, right? And she's making 60 now. So it's telling kind of that you're seeing that she really wants a different type of situation, right? So she's asking for 53, the other guy's asking for 70. And again, guys, it's not just as simple as whoever asks less, you know, you hire them. No, you got to look at the whole story, okay? You got to look at the whole story, because I'm trying to change somebody's life. I'm trying to change the whole layout of their lifestyle and their work-life balance so that they can become loyal. And some of you guys may see this as a tactic. I don't. I mean, I don't see this as a tactic. I'm literally trying to find out whose life I can change and bless. So, right? So I get these two texts back, and I know for sure that I'm going to hire this woman. And this is the funnest part of that interview process. So I call her back the same day. I call her back a little bit later and say, hey, Julia, I know, you know, I appreciate you coming to the interview. You know, thanks for everything. Thanks for coming down. Thanks for following up with me to let me know what it is that you'd want to get paid. I see you asked for $53,000 to start off with. And I'm just calling you to let you know that we would like to hire you if you're okay with that. But I'd like to know if you are willing to start at $65,000 as your starting pay, with the opportunity to move up to 70 if you can perform and start doing some other tasks for us. Is that okay? And I want you guys to think about that. I mean, you put yourself in her shoes, working 70 hours a week, right? Waking up at 4 a.m. in the morning. And I'm offering a position where our shop doesn't open until 10 a.m. Okay. We go from 10 to 10. I'm not requiring her to be there all the time. Okay. Giving her an assistant manager that can run the park without her even needing to be there. Okay. I'm giving her about a 40 to 45 hour work week and paying her $65,000 to $70,000. And she's running one store over 13. Put yourself in her shoes. How do you feel? If you're honest with yourself, you're going to say that you feel amazing, you know? And my favorite part in that whole process is being on the phone and listening to the pause. When I say, hey, you know, what do you think? You know, what if would you mind us starting you at $65,000? Because I know you wanted to start at 52, 53. Is it okay if we start at 65 and move you up to 70 if you can perform certain things? And then there's always a pause. There's always a pause. And then there's always a, yes, 100%, you know, I'm all in. I'd love to do this. And what comes next, guys, is huge. Like after that happens, you know, it's so fun to see someone so excited because they're realizing that, man, so much is going to change in my life. And that lasts, guys. So she starts working for us and she does amazing. And it's not a surprise to me that she became the top selling recreation park that we had. And she just does an amazing job. And it becomes so easy to her, you know, she's making great money. She's, you know, her time is back. She goes and now she has a boyfriend, you know, now she has a personal life, right? She has the time to do that. She calls me one day and says, hey, Mo, you know, I'm not going to lie. Like this is very easy for me, you know, and I'm actually getting a little bored because, you know, don't get me wrong. I'm very happy here, you know, but like, I'm trying to look for a challenge, you know, we're doing really well. We're exceeding our numbers, you know? And so I was forced to give her, you know, a corporate level role and have her start training other general managers and doing some of the job that I was doing before. Again, and in this whole scenario, guys, I'm trying to pull myself out and allow amazing people like this woman to run things and get paid even more and enjoy doing it. And the end goal is, it's like the Disneyland effect for children. What I want to do in my organizations is I want the people that work with me, okay, for me, with me, I want them to be able to, at the end of the day, when they're going to clock out, they walk out the door of the business. I want them to be able to turn around and say, man, I can't believe that that's my job. I can't believe that I get paid to do that. You know, this woman calls me, you know, a few weeks later and says, hey, Mo, you know, sorry to bother you. You know, things are going well at the park or whatnot, but I totally forgot that my mom invited me to do a kayaking trip. And she starts explaining this story. And before she ends, I tell her, you know what? I was like, just go. How long is it? She's like, well, it's supposed to be like 3 to 5 days. Done. I said, go ahead, leave. And guess what? I'm not going to dock your pay for it. Just go ahead. Have fun. Again, pause. What am I trying to do, right? Her park is already performing. Her recreation park is performing. Numbers are there. Assistant manager can run it on his own. I am trying my best to make it so that she will never, ever, ever consider working for anybody else. That is my goal. And the only way that I can do that is to provide the type of lifestyle and work-life environment and relationship with the owner of the company that makes it so that she's like, man, Mo's going to take care of me, So I hope this is making sense, guys. That is my interview process. I take it through that 5-step process. And then the interview, again, is very fun for me to do. And then that first year to, honestly, it lasts forever. If you take care of your people, they will remain loyal. And that's why I call this section hiring loyalty over talent. Doesn't mean that the people that I hire aren't talented, because they're way talented. I just believe in hiring people that you can exceed their expectations and bless their lives. Okay. If I were to hire the other gentleman that wanted to start at 70,000 and I paid him 70,000, he would just be satisfied, but it wouldn't have been a big enough change in his life for him to feel the same way that this woman did. Okay. So I hope that makes sense, guys. I hope that makes sense, because this is something that I've wasted a lot of time and money on when I was doing it another way, the wrong way. And now that I switched over to doing it this way, and where I am very production driven, and I allow people to have an amazing lifestyle, right? Even working a W-2 9-to-5 job, it makes it so that I have people that care about my company just as much as I do, sometimes even more. Okay. And that's where you want to be. Okay. All right, guys. So let's move on to the next thing.